Good afternoon, everyone. David Dubine here from oilseedcrops.org. And leading into the holiday season and into next year, it's going to be about the food. 8 billion meals missed. Already looking at North Carolina, 30% increase in food distributions. Hawaii, almost a 6x increase for the food banks there. And the inverse relationship of the intensifying Grand Soar Minimum, the more disruption to our society, the more need from the citizens. Signs in the skies, 232 waterspouts, a new world record, breaking the old world record from just 2 months ago. Drought sweeping South America. Commodities prices up going into the end of the year. China imports record levels due to the largest crop wipeouts in centuries. And rocket exhaust in the full moon. In this day and age, it's so important to keep your body functioning at optimal performance. And collagen may be the closest thing we get to a real fountain of youth. After all, collagen is the most abundant protein in your body and essentially the glue that holds it all together. When you're middle-aged, you're only producing half of the collagen that you did in your youth. My focus is about digestive health because the change in our diets from foods being unavailable, moving to seasonal availability of foods, and the entire spectrum of availability of foods changing. There's so much more to talk about with the benefits of collagen. You can visit healthwithadapt2030.com to learn more. The link's to the description box below. We're looking at the entry into and then the depths of the Grand Soar Minimum. I encourage you to do a history deep dive and look at what happened and how the society broke down at that time, what happened first, second, and third. And we're looking at a repeat right now with increasing food prices, economic contraction, and population migration. Fast forward into our modern era at a minimum. So we should also expect, as we're starting to descend into this with more and more crop losses, more economic constriction, contraction in the reset, that you would start to see more dependence on governments and agencies to help the people. Feeding America warning 8 billion meals not going to be met in the next 12 months. Talking about record increases across all states for food banks. So I thought I would go all the way to the East Coast in North Carolina, 38% increase. Food delivered in 2020. In this graphic right here, Feeding America, food insecure neighbors increase. 2019 prior and into 2020 is the green era of debug. So if just 1 year has already added 40% increases in food insecurity, what it's going to be like as we march through the next decade. And now I'm going to jump over to Hawaii. They're experiencing massive demand as well. Now here's something to note with Hawaii. The tourism industry has collapsed. So that's the main money earner. 90% of the economy revolved around tourism. Even with goods being delivered for those visiting the islands, that would include shipping and logistics as well. But this stunning increase in meals served, 85% of the people are unemployed. So this could be a model to use to see where the highest demand for food and food bank assistance might be based on tourist industry and tourist-dependent areas on the planet first. Just do the check the box. Where are the most heavily dependent areas? And that would go for the Airbnb economy as well. So you can start to see how everything starts to intertwine here. But looking around the planet, where were the most heavily dependent tourist areas? Because that's where this is going to unfold first. And if we see a 6x increase in Hawaii, you could probably imagine a 6x increase in these other areas. But on the opposite end, wherever there's strong manufacturing or some other anchor for that town or city other than tourism, hospitality, food and bev, anything like this, they'll probably be more rock solid and perhaps they'll even start growing their own food. But continuing down with connected and related articles on the Hawaii Food Bank, de Blasio's Utopia, quarter-mile food bank lines, Texas Food Bank, thousands of cars lining up, massive lines from outside Virginia. 1 million meals per month now. Wisconsin Food Bank. They need more food as well because this massive snowball of assistance has already started rolling downhill, and by the time middle 21 comes around, it will be a national talking point daily. And if you look around the earth, you can start to see more changes, and that's the trigger for the loss in crops. So the more intense that these climate events become, the more food is lost. Growing seasons have shrunken. The stability of the planting and harvest times, well, it's a little out of sync at the moment. Signs in the skies, of course. The world record waterspout outbreak over the Great Lakes. September 28th to October 4th, 232 waterspouts were sighted. And you might say, wow, that's a lot. And it is. It's an incredible amount. World record. And I said, wait a second. I just did a previous story about 2 months ago on a world record amount of waterspouts sighted over the Great Lakes. 88 of them in August 16th to 19th. That was the previous world record. 60 funnels was the world record prior to that. And now we had 88 in August and now 232 in October and September. 2 record-setting events happening in the same year, just months apart. That should be a huge wake-up call for what's happening with the vortices in our atmosphere and what's causing it with the jet streams and the cloud cells in motion. I found this image of the waterspout quite impressive. Usually they don't have that boomerang kink in them. But it's an unusual year, so you can expect more unusual events to come rolling through the end of 2020. And analysts across the planet were pointing to South America as being the saving grace for the losses in China, that don't worry, South America is going to pick up all the slack, and you shouldn't even worry about decreasing crop yields in Australia, in the United States, in Canada, in China, in the amount of massive record floods in both flood zones, taking out not only store food, but what was growing, and then the typhoon that wiped out the northern part in Heilongjiang. China is absolutely into a food insecure era. So there seems to be a massive buying spree globally for anything that's out there, mainly focused China to try to prevent mass starvation because starving people overthrow regimes. So the agricultural commodities prices here off Aura, soybeans up 7.3%, corn almost 6%, wheat almost 5%. Did you notice there coffee at the very bottom dropped? And that's because that was such a recreational drink. People going to the coffee shops, tourist areas, people with the coffee, so there's not nearly the demand because so many other industries have collapsed around the planet where coffee was a main component of food and bev. Yeah, of course many people are going to have coffee after their lunches or dinners for breakfast, but if all these restaurants are closed, they certainly aren't serving coffee. And when I mean China is buying everything inbound, look at this 10-day straight soybean purchases, 2.6 million tons, and they keep on buying. Wherever there's extra food available, China is trying to buy it and import it due to the once in a 200-year crop loss event that just rolled through that nation. Look at the corn imports from China. This is from August, so we still have a couple months to catch up until this massive buy that is going to send that November spike up to the 2.6 million, which is more than double where the 1.2 million is. So they're going to have to double this chart here, which should also say, wait a second, you're going to double the amount of imports and have to put new bars inside the chart here, not just an extra 10% or an extra 20%. They're going to have to add into then accommodate what China is pulling in globally. And another way to look at it here is going on the weekly sales combined accumulated exports, 6x over 2015 is what they've purchased so far. And we're only in the very beginning from September all the way into August of next year. So I'm wondering what the final totals might be, because taking a look at corn, I thought I misread the chart in a minute there, but 2015, 0 tons. 2020, 750,000 metric tons so far. It's going to be interesting as China continues to buy everything that the planet has to offer, and that would explain why the prices have already started to rise on most every commodity. Now, Dr. Von Braun putting out some interesting pictures here of rocket in the full moon, because when we do look, it's the heavens responsible for the changes on our sun and then on our earth, electromagnetic connections. And in the murkiness of global crop shuffling, you just have to wonder when China won't be able to find any more food that it needs, and what will happen with the citizens in China, and how this will kick off other conflicts, because hungry people can be redirected to help the emperor gain more resources. It's all intertwined. The deeper we head into this Grand Solar Minimum, the more you're going to see of all these interlaced connections. And how prepared are you for food disruptions? My Patriot's applying ADAPT 2030, the 2-week or the 4-week emergency food supply Give yourself peace of mind knowing you have stored foods in your home in case there's a breakdown in supply chain or you're just not able to get out to the supermarkets. That link's in the description box below. Appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video, and I will see you next time.